Hi there, Peter here in the Simply Good Food TV Cookery School kitchen. Now it's time for lunch and I am making a conscious effort to try and cook lots and stream lots. And we're going to try and do it 2 or 3 times a week at least. And what I want to do is show you some fab products, some great cooking techniques and some really tasty ideas for breakfast, lunch, dinner. So what we're going to do today is I've got a little leg roasting rump joint. I picked it up today in Booths, a lovely little joint actually, and I thought that is going to be perfect. We are very, very close to Burns night. Now, haggis for me, absolutely love it, and I think it works really well with lamb. So what we're going to do is we're going to roast this little lamb joint here, and then we're going to serve it up with a haggis hash. So I've got cooked potatoes, I've got spring onions, fresh herbs, and then we're going to finish it with a salsa verde. Now that is Italian for green sauce. It's absolutely delicious, and it just beats mint sauce to the ground in flavour. So let's get started. So hot pan first, and what I'm going to do is take our lamb and we're going to just add a little bit of oil on there. Now let me just kind of crop in there so you can see what's going on. So a little bit of oil on there first. Just rub that in so that we can now stick loads of flavour to it, okay? So, pepper. And then we're going to add some salt on there, and that will help draw the moisture out. And that will also help just get loads and loads of flavour into the lamb. Now, I've got some fresh thyme here, some fresh rosemary, and a couple of bay leaves that I'm going to cook the lamb in. So, let me just come over to here. So this pan is getting hot. Yeah, so skin side down, and then we're just going to start to cook that up. So we'll get rid of this plate. There we go. Okay, so we've got rosemary and we've got thyme here. I'm just going to roughly chop those up. For me, they're just the best herbs for the winter. I think you get loads of robust flavour. They're the only ones that last in the garden, so it kind of tells you something. And then I've just got some bay in there as well, just for some sort of more fragrance, really. So let's have a little look, what's going on. Lovely. So let me just crop into there so you can see what's going on. I'll move that out of the way so you can see. I'm getting some colour on there, so I'm going to turn that over. And just try and get the skin around the outside and the fat to render up, because it's not going to take long to cook this, so we haven't got hours to get it all lovely and crispy. So we just need to kind of roll it, turn it, and just get some good flavour on there. Okay, so if you're wondering what I'm doing, I'm just kind of I'm editing at the same time, so I've got an iPad and a Mevo camera which allows me to just kind of move shots and things like that, which is kind of cool. So, thyme and rosemary, I'm going to stick that on the bottom, because I'm going to flip it over in a minute. Okay? And then I've got my bay leaves, I'm going to sit those right there. Okay, so just a little bit more oil, so that those herbs that have missed don't sort of scorch too much. Okay, smells like Sunday dinner already to me. Okay, so let's just flip that over, making sure the bay leaves are underneath, that's it. Right, we'll get that in the oven. Probably take about 10-12 minutes. Okay, so leave that there, we don't need to worry about that. Okay, a quick wipe down. So if anyone's got any questions, give me a shout. We're live, so I can answer them. I have the technology. Okay, right, so pan on number 7. So, we've got some onion. We're going to get the hash going now. So this also works really well for leftovers. If you have roast lamb on a Sunday, this works super well on Monday evening. You know, when you don't really know what to have for dinner, you've got leftovers, you don't really know what to do with them. This is perfect. Okay, so we don't need tons of onion. So, half an onion, and we'll just slice that up. Really, really fine, because this is not a slow cook dish. This is all quite quick. So really, really fine. And if you can't do it this fine, grate it. Or come and see me at the cookery school and I'll teach you. Okay, so that'll do. Lovely. So we're going to get that straight in the pan, get some cooking on there, and start to cook it down. So a little bit of oil, get the whole thing going. Okay, some salt. That'll draw the water out of the onions and allow the cooking process to really start to begin and caramelise and get a lovely sweet kind of onion, which is what we're looking for. Okay. Real. Right, so we've got our haggis. Now, everyone has their own favourites, everyone has their own kind of preferences. I love McSween's haggis. You can love whichever one you love. I think it's quite a personal thing. Some people like them really peppery, some people don't. I love this one, and that's it. So, I'm not so sure whether it's allowed in America. I don't think they export. I might be wrong. There are certain countries that just don't get it. But for me, I live in the Lake District. I am just south of Scotland, and I bloody love this stuff. I think it's beautiful. It's amazing flavour in it, and you can always get it. I love it for breakfast with poached eggs. So we're just going to chop it roughly, and it'll kind of break up in the pan anyway, so we don't need to worry too much. Let's sprinkle that in. There we go. And the fats and the juices and everything in there are going to break down and bring the whole thing together. So, let's just crank that up. Use your spoon as well, don't be afraid. This is a hash, so don't be afraid to break things up. It should break up, okay? So, a couple of spring onions. We're actually going to add these in raw, because I think it gives a really nice crunch, and it gives it a good contrast. So I'm just going to take the outer skin off these big spring onions, or scallions, depending on where you're from. And then I'll just trim an inch off the top, because we'll use it all. Now I'm going to cut the knife. Now what I'll do is, I'll crop right in so you can see this. I'm going to cut into the spring onion until I get to green, and then I'm going to stop, okay? And the reason why I've done that is because these onions are quite big, and if they were just slices, that would be a bit too much. So all we're going to do is just chop the spring onion really nice and fine in the halves, and then as you get further along, once you get to the green, you can be a bit more open with your chop. There we go. Perfect. And we'll leave that to one side, because we do not need to do anything to that yet. So, haggis and onions are starting to cook down together. Okay, looking good. Right. Oh, lots of editing. Good stuff, good, good, good. Right, got these potatoes. These are cooked. So let's just go into here, because this is where we do it. So I've got cooked potatoes. All I'm going to do is just break them in my hand a bit and add them in. Okay? So if you had mashed potato, you could do it like that as well if you wanted to. But I quite like just cooking the odd extra potato, and then it means that we've got always an option in the fridge. Now I'm going to add a little bit of butter, which will bring it together, and it'll help the potatoes kind of crisp up. So about 20 grams of butter in there. Let's just pop that in, and that will help everything crisp up nicely. Oh, it's looking good now. Okay, right. So that is, the butter's just melting down now, so it's looking good. I'm excited about this. This is going to be a good lunch today. Okay. We'll look at the lamb. Oh, looking nice. I'm going to drop that temperature down. Okay, so everything in there is kind of cooked now. We're just warming it through and kind of crisping it up, because you want gnarly bits, you want crispy bits. I've got a few capers here. I'm just going to add those in as well, because that acidity is going to work really, really well in there. And I am a little bit obsessed with capers, as my wife will tell you. And they're my favourite ingredient at the moment. I love them. Okay, so that is almost cooked. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the spring onions and just sit them on top of the hash. I'm not going to stir it in yet, okay, because I don't want the onions to cook. I just want them to warm through a little bit while we do another job. Okay? So that can go to one side. We'll switch that off for now. And that residual heat is only going to sit there for 5 minutes. It's going to be absolutely fine while we make salsa verde. And this, salsa verde is just amazing. If you've never tried it, don't buy it, you'll be disappointed. Make it, okay? So, Dijon mustard, okay? A couple of teaspoons of that. In it goes. We're going to add a touch of red wine vinegar, just to get that acidity working. Okay, so we're going to add a little bit of pepper. No salt, because we're going to add anchovies, salted anchovies, okay? Don't use the pickled white ones. They're not salty enough, okay, for this job. Okay, so just chop those up nice and fine. Salsa verde makes anything taste good. Oh, love it. It's a bit like bacon, it just makes everything good. Okay, so clove of garlic. Easy on the garlic, because it's going to be raw, it'll be quite powerful. And these are big cloves of garlic that I picked up this morning, so I'm not going to need all of this, but that's okay. So I'm going to use half, okay, so a small clove of garlic or half a big one, and chop it quite fine, because what you do, you could chop all this in the food processor if you wanted to, but I quite like to chop. And obviously when we're doing this live, we want to be doing something while things are cooking. A little bit more on there. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put a little bit of salt on there, and I'll show you what I'm doing. And then we're going to use the knife and the salt as an abrasive. I'm kind of just going to, can you hear that? That kind of scratching sound. So use the edge of your knife, and it makes more of a garlic paste than a just diced. Okay, so mustard, vinegar, anchovies and garlic in there at the moment, nothing else. Okay, so we've got capers. I've got the little mini capers. I'm just going to run my knife through. Right guys, sorry about that slight technical issue. So we're back anyway. So what we're going to do is we're going to chop the parsley really, really fine. Start with the stalk, okay? Chop that really, really fine. And then we're going to go into the leaf. That'll do. Okay, in fact, what we'll do is we'll hang on to a little bit of that. So, into the salsa there. And then mint is really, really important. Lots of mint, I think, is what makes it good. Okay, so again, shred it up really, really fine. There we go, and then into the bowl as well. Good plug of extra virgin olive oil, and that'll kind of help it bring it all together, okay? Don't worry about making too much. Keep it in the fridge for a couple of days. Amazing on roast chicken, amazing over pasta with feta and olives and all those sort of things. It can just bring things to life. It's just nice as a dip. We tend to just sort of crumble a bit of feta into it and use some pita breads and just kind of spread it on. It's delicious. Really, really good. Okay, a touch more oil just to make that sauce. And you could blend this if you wanted to. So it's really, really smooth. But I quite like that coarse texture. Okay, going to give it a quick season. Touch pepper. That's it. Okay, a little bit of parsley there can go into my hash. Okay, now let's just have a quick wipe down, clear down, and this lamb should be ready. Okay. Right, that's it, let's pull this lamb out. Ooh, smells good. Smells really, really good. So I'm going to let that rest. And then with the juices here, okay, what I'm going to do is keep that pan on the heat, say medium heat, just enough to sort of keep the momentum going. Now I've got some Kent's Kitchen chicken stock, which is beautiful. Really, really nice. And I quite like using these rather than cubes, because you just seem to, I don't know, it just seems like a much more natural product. and I can still use a little bit at a time, and I can chuck them in the freezer if I don't use them. But all the juices that are in that pan, I want you to be able to actually taste. So let me just drop that in there so you can kind of see what's going on. Okay, so I've got my chicken stock, and I'm going to add that in. All I've got is about 1/4 of a pint, okay? And then a little bit of that stock there. And we're just going to bring that right up to the boil, because I want to lift all the flavour out that's in the pan, okay? So it's just a really one-pan gravy. We don't need to worry about, you know, things running. And what I've got is some House of Chop Chop. I've got some of their lovely fruity chutney. This is the peppery berry one. So all I'm looking for is a nice little bit of sweetness. So I'm just going to add that in as well. And this is what I love about like cooking with lovely farm shop products and things like that, is you always find like really tasty products. And if I'm honest, cooking's really easy when you do that. So all I'm going to do is just reduce that down. All the little bits of flavour, it's kind of coming up. Although I've added the chicken stock, it's smelling like lamb. It's smelling really, really good. Okay. Let's plate this up, okay? So we've got our hash. Let's give that a really good mix. We've got haggis, potatoes, onions, spring onions. And then we're just going to lift some of that into the middle there. Get a little bit of everything. Oh, smells good. Smells really, really good. Loving that. And then we'll just cut the string off the lamb. So that's held it all together nicely. It's had it rest for a couple of minutes. It's all relaxed, it's all ready. Okay, let's put that on there. Now add a tiny little piece of butter into that sauce, and that'll just bring it together. I'm going to turn the heat off now because that's ready. Okay, so this will serve two easy. So I'm just going to carve this. Look at that. Oh, looks really, really good. So what I'm going to do is just 3 lovely slices on there. That's it. Sit that on there. And then I've got a lovely spoon of salsa verde on top of that. Oh, like a restaurant dish this, never mind lunch. And then just take some of your sauce and just nip it round. And that's got all the cooking juices and all the flavours, and then this chicken stock and chutney has just brought it all together. Okay, so that is roast rump of lamb, or leg of lamb. It's a little mini joint with haggis hash, salsa verde, and a lovely little chutney and chicken stock sauce. Alright, I will see you soon. If anybody wants the recipe, if anybody wants to know more about this dish, or even if you want me to cook another dish another day that you want to sort of know how to do, give me a shout on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, whatever you like. If you like this dish, you like watching this, go download Simply Good Food TV and you'll get a ton more recipes. They're all there, it's free to download. And if you find any other recipe programs, let me know, because we can bring them to you. Alright, thank you.